My name is Prairie Conlon, licensed mental health professional, and I'm here to talk to you, emotional support animal users, as we are currently on the brink of losing privileges for your legitimate emotional support animals. A new federal proposal is threatening to ban emotional support animals on airlines indefinitely. I honestly never thought that this would happen, and let me tell you why. Emotional support animals, they're a legitimate treatment, just like a service animal is. And yes, we know that service animals and emotional support animals are very different and they serve very different purposes. But how can they say that someone with a physical disability or certain mental disabilities like PTSD can have a service dog when they have a legitimate need for them, but someone who has been diagnosed by a clinician with a mental health disorder and has a legitimate need for them cannot have their animal with them anymore? This is what we call textbook discrimination. To put it more simply, the airlines are saying that if you have a physical or medical disability, you can have an assistance animal. But if you have a mental disability, you can't. Tell me how that isn't discrimination. This federal proposal is threatening your rights to an emotional support animal as part of your clinical treatment plan. Why are they doing this? I'll tell you why. They are focusing on the minuscule percentage of ridiculous so-called emotional support animals in the media that people have paraded through the airport and made a mockery of your legitimate need for an emotional support animal. If they want to put a stop to this insanity, they should attack the companies that try to imitate authentic telehealth companies like Certipet and BetterHelp and Talkspace, to name a few. Attacking the person and taking away their rights because of the greediness of these disgusting companies that are certifying fear and beehives and coyotes as support animals is appalling. Basically, the airlines are punishing the person, not the dishonest companies that have created the problem. And Certipet continues to be grouped in this category of rubber stamp paper mill companies when we have time and time again explained that we are a telehealth company that provides referrals to therapists and their private practices. We at Certipet think that all of these companies need to be vetted. Punish the unlawful companies, not the person. The airlines are completely misdirected in their effort to reduce the fraud they're encountering. And as anyone with a legitimate emotional support animal knows, things have changed drastically since the day of the peacock. You can't even just obtain an emotional support animal letter from your clinician anymore, a legitimate one, and stroll into the airport. You will be turned away. You have to notify the airline well in advance. You have to complete any additional paperwork, which often includes veterinarian paperwork on the airline letterhead, so you usually have to make a trip to the vet. An additional signed document by your clinician is often used on their forms only, so another appointment with the clinician usually has to take place, among other things. Things have changed, yet we still hear about these outrageous exotic animals and aggressive animals like it's all happening today. Again, those days are over, and they only represented a minuscule percentage of emotional support animals in the airport. But the airlines are looking to punish you for that singular peacock that rode through the airport on a baggage cart 2 years ago, or the one out of thousands where an animal is aggressive or an animal has an accident. Things have changed drastically since then, but that seems to be the airline's Hail Mary in claiming you cannot have an emotional support animal anymore. So what do we do about this? Is there anything that we can do? And the answer is yes. Together we can solve this problem. We all need to go to regulations.gov. I'll leave the link in the comments below, and we need to leave as many comments as we can. We need to get rid of the stupid peacock imagery that comes to everyone's mind when an emotional support animal is mentioned. And we need to show them the real face of emotional support animals and how they make a difference in your life. If we left 1 million comments, they wouldn't be able to look away. They couldn't hide behind this insignificant percentage of fake emotional support animals that were brought in years past. They couldn't use that as an excuse to take away your privileges anymore. But you need to be heard. Please go to the link in the comments and make sure that they hear your voice. We need to act now before they take away your right to a clinical treatment plan your way. You might be wondering, what is our stance on this proposal? What is the solution in place of this complete outlawing of emotional support animals that we propose? So we at CertaPet, we do believe in greater regulation to prevent the fraud and incidents of the bizarre or aggressive animals. And here's what we propose. We think that these so-called online telehealth companies trying to mimic CertaPet, they need to be vetted for their process. They need to be regulated so we don't have things like beer and peacocks being certified as emotional support animals. All companies, including us. So we're not trying to move the spotlight away from us. We're more than happy to share our process in providing telehealth services. So again, the companies need to be regulated, not the people. Stop punishing the people for the mistakes made by these big companies. We also believe that emotional support animals should be limited to cats, dogs, and rabbits due to ability to be domesticated, trainability, zoning issues, and public health and safety, period. We don't deny that your animal may be helping you, but there has to be limits, and these are the limits that we enforce within our own company. Next, doctors and clinicians writing letters should be educated appropriately before developing a treatment plan that includes an emotional support animal. We're working on a continuing education credit for training clinicians in emotional support animals as part of a treatment plan. Clinicians should not practice outside of the scope of their abilities. Lastly, we need clear-cut regulations stating basic training requirements for ESAs. Obviously, it won't be as intensive or expensive as obtaining service dog status, but animals should be required to behave with some basic training. And if any animal is ever acting out aggressively, they will immediately lose their support animal status. These are reasonable suggestions that should be, at a minimum, looked into by the airlines before they're eliminating emotional support animals altogether. The airlines have a responsibility to all passengers, including those with mental disabilities. Taking a drastic step like forever banishing emotional support animals before further investigating these types of reasonable suggestions would be a failure on the part of the airlines altogether. And I think it's safe to say that the airlines owe you at least that much. But you do have to act now. Taking 5 minutes to voice your concerns can and will make a difference. So the power to make a difference, it's in your hands. Just go to the site right now and take a minute. Thanks.